his apex. Good luck with your journey.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Predator Badlands, released in 2025, represents a significant shift in the Predator franchise, offering audiences a fresh perspective by centering the narrative on a young Yautja named Dek rather than the traditional human protagonists. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg, the film was developed and distributed by 20th Century Studios, marking a bold creative move within a franchise that had historically focused on humanity being hunted by alien predators. The story, written by Patrick Eisen, with contributions from Trachtenberg, introduces a universe that is both familiar to fans of the original films yet expansive in its world-building. Unlike its predecessors, which depicted predators solely as antagonistic hunters, Badlands delves into predator culture, familial hierarchies, and rites of passage, offering a nuanced look at a species often portrayed merely as lethal. The film is set on a distant and perilous planet named Jenna, a world characterized by hostile flora, deadly fauna, and extreme environmental hazards. This alien ecosystem becomes both a battleground and a learning ground for Dek, a young predator initially deemed weak and unworthy by his clan. His father, Njor, the clan leader, perceives him as incapable of living up to the standards of his species, while his brother Quay provides a measure of covert support, sending him on a journey intended to test his courage and survival instincts. Dek's mission, framed as a rite of passage, revolves around hunting the legendary Kalisk, a creature thought to be unconquerable. The narrative cleverly intertwines Dek's personal journey of growth with the broader challenges of navigating an alien environment filled with predators, both sentient and animalistic, forcing him to confront his limitations and embrace his potential. Upon crash landing on Jenna, Dek is immediately confronted by the hostile conditions of the planet. Alone and disoriented, he must rely on his innate abilities while learning to adapt to the unfamiliar and dangerous surroundings. The film emphasizes the themes of survival and resilience as Dek encounters hostile creatures, navigates treacherous landscapes, and gradually gains an understanding of the local ecosystem. During this time, he discovers an unlikely ally, Thaya, a damaged Weyland-Yutani android who has lost parts of her body and relies on Dek for mobility. Thaya's knowledge of Jenna and her unique perspective as an artificial being complement Dek's physical prowess, resulting in a partnership that blends humor, strategy, and mutual growth. This relationship, which evolves from cautious cooperation to deep interdependence, highlights the film's exploration of trust, empathy, and unconventional alliances. The plot thickens as Dek and Thaya encounter a small alien creature named Bud, who becomes a symbolic figure within their journey. The inclusion of Bud introduces an element of innocence and emotional resonance, balancing the film's intense action sequences with moments of character-driven storytelling. As they traverse Jenna, the group faces not only the deadly Kalisk but also the manipulations of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, whose synthetic agents and experimental programs serve as a secondary antagonistic force. The tension between corporate control and natural predation underscores the film's recurring themes of freedom, autonomy, and the clash between nature and technologically imposed order. Dek's confrontation with the Kalisk ultimately reveals a deeper narrative layer. The creature is revealed to have familial ties to Bud, adding moral complexity to what initially appears as a straightforward hunt. The climax of the film weaves together these narrative threads in a visually striking and emotionally charged finale. Dek's final confrontation with both the Kalisk and the antagonistic synthetic forces forces him to reconcile his desire for recognition within Predator society with the emerging sense of morality and empathy developed during his journey. Through this culmination, the film portrays Dek not merely as a hunter but as a figure capable of growth, ethical reflection, and leadership. The resolution, which sees Dek returning to Yautja Prime with Thaya and Bud, along with the severed skull of Tessa, Thaya's twin synthetic antagonist, establishes both closure and anticipation, setting the stage for potential sequels. The final scenes, which hint at the arrival of Dek's mother on Yautja Prime, further emphasize the film's layered approach to family, tradition, and the continuation of Predator legacies. The cast of Predator Badlands brings depth and personality to this intricate story. Dimitrios Schuster-Kaloamatangi portrays Dek, capturing both the physicality required for a Predator protagonist and the nuanced emotional evolution that drives the character. Elle Fanning plays Thea, whose performance balances vulnerability, intelligence, and resilience, while also taking on the dual role of Tessa, the synthetic antagonist. Supporting roles include Mike Homick as Quay, Dek's supportive yet conflicted brother, Ruben de Jong as Njor, the stern clan leader and father figure, and Rohinel Nayaran as Bud, whose presence adds emotional depth and narrative significance. The combination of practical effects, motion capture, and sophisticated CGI allows these characters, especially the non-human ones, to express subtle emotions, enhancing the audience's engagement and investment in their journeys. From a production standpoint, the film's visual language is striking and meticulously crafted. Cinematographer Jeff Cutter employed expansive wide shots and dynamic action sequences to convey both the scale of Jenna and the intensity of survival challenges faced by Dek. Editing by Stefan Grube and David Trachtenberg ensures a fluid narrative pace that balances character development with high-stakes action. The visual effects, led by Weta FX, bring to life the dangerous wildlife, alien landscapes, and Predator technology with photorealistic detail, creating an immersive cinematic experience. The score, composed by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish, complements the visual storytelling, blending tense orchestral motifs with electronic elements to reflect both the primal and technological aspects of the film's universe. Marketing efforts for Predator Badlands were strategic and impactful, with trailers emphasizing the film's unique perspective, action sequences, and the new take on Predator culture. The final trailer, released in early October 2025, highlighted Dek's declaration, "I am prey to none," signaling a narrative centered on empowerment, survival, and self-discovery. Promotional materials emphasized the alien planet Jenna, showcasing dangerous creatures, elaborate set pieces, and the interactions between Dek, Thea, and Bud, which helped set audience expectations for a blend of action, humor, and emotional engagement. The film premiered at the TCL Chinese Theater on November 3, 2025, with a wide release following on November 7 in major international markets, including the United States and the United Kingdom. Its distribution by 20th Century Studios ensured a global rollout, complemented by streaming availability in select territories to maximize audience reach. Critically, Predator Badlands received acclaim for its innovative approach to the franchise, particularly its decision to center the story on a predator as the protagonist. The film's PG-13 rating, a departure from the R-rated violence typical of previous entries, allowed for broader audience accessibility without compromising the intensity and danger intrinsic to the Predator universe. Reviewers praised the film for its world-building, character development, and thoughtful integration of moral and ethical dilemmas within the context of a science fiction action narrative. Rotten Tomatoes reflected a high tomato meter score, with critics highlighting the film's ability to reinvigorate a long-standing franchise while maintaining fidelity to its core themes of hunting, honor, and survival. Thematically, Predator Badlands explores complex ideas such as familial duty, societal expectations, and the moral implications of hunting and killing. Dek's journey mirrors a coming-of-age narrative, wherein he must navigate the tension between personal desire, societal approval, and ethical responsibility. The relationship between Dek and Thea illustrates themes of cooperation, trust, and empathy, demonstrating that survival in an alien and dangerous world requires more than physical prowess, it necessitates emotional intelligence and ethical consideration. The incorporation of corporate antagonists and artificial life forms further broadens the thematic scope, offering commentary on technological overreach, identity, and the consequences of human intervention in alien ecosystems. The film's narrative and thematic depth position it as a cornerstone for future expansions of the Predator universe. Director Dan Trachtenberg has indicated plans for subsequent installments, suggesting that Badlands is the first of a trilogy exploring Predator society and their interactions with both natural and synthetic worlds. The conclusion, which hints at the arrival of Dek's mother, sets up future storylines that promise further exploration of Predator culture, familial dynamics, and intergenerational conflict. There are also speculative opportunities for crossover elements with the Alien franchise, given the presence of Weyland-Yutani, which could enrich the universe and expand narrative possibilities for subsequent films. The world building in Predator Badlands represents a marked evolution for the franchise, moving beyond the confined, jungle-based environments of the original 1987 film and its subsequent sequels. Jenna, the alien planet that forms the primary setting, is not merely a backdrop but functions as a fully realized ecosystem with its own rules, dangers, and cultural resonance. Its terrain ranges from jagged mountain ridges and sprawling deserts to bioluminescent forests and acidic swamplands. Each environment presents unique challenges for Dek, shaping his physical abilities, strategic thinking, and survival instincts. The planet's flora and fauna are designed to reflect a balance of predatory efficiency and ecological plausibility. Some creatures have evolved camouflage or mimicry to avoid being detected, while others employ cooperative hunting strategies that mirror the social structures of predators themselves. This careful attention to environmental design allows the filmmakers to create a world that feels alive, dangerous, and reactive to the characters' actions, enhancing audience immersion and providing a platform for tension and discovery. Dek's character arc is central to the narrative, and his evolution is portrayed with careful nuance. Initially depicted as a physically capable but emotionally inexperienced predator, he struggles with the expectations of his society and the shadow of his father, Njor. His early failures on Jenna, including underestimating local predators and environmental hazards, illustrate both the hubris of youth and the brutal reality of survival in a hostile world. As he faces these challenges, Dek begins to develop skills in strategy, improvisation, and cooperative thinking, particularly through his partnership with Thaya. The interplay between Dek and Thaya serves as a crucible for his maturation. Thaya's analytical intelligence and guidance complement Dek's physical strength, and their mutual dependence fosters growth in empathy and communication. This relationship is further complicated by the revelation of Tessa, Thaya's twin, who embodies the more antagonistic, corporate-driven mindset of the Weyland-Yutani androids. Through these relationships, Dek learns that strength alone does not define leadership or success, and that ethical decision-making and emotional intelligence are essential for true mastery. The design of the creatures on Jenna is a standout element, combining practical effects, digital artistry, and motion capture to create predators that are both terrifying and believable. Weta FX, the studio responsible for many of the film's visual effects, invested considerable effort into creating a range of species that reflect evolutionary plausibility while maintaining dramatic impact. The Kalisk, as the apex predator of Jenna, is portrayed as a physically imposing creature with highly adaptive camouflage, rapid reflexes, and a predatory intelligence that rivals Dek's own. The revelation that the Kalisk is Bud's mother introduces moral complexity, forcing Dek to confront the ethical dimensions of hunting a sentient and familial creature. Smaller species, such as ambush predators that stalk Dek in the forested regions or burrowing creatures that threaten the trio's campsite, add variety and unpredictability, maintaining narrative tension throughout the film. Practical sets, combined with animatronic elements and augmented CGI, create a tactile, immersive feel, allowing actors to interact convincingly with creatures that could otherwise appear artificial. Cinematic techniques in Predator Badlands play a significant role in shaping the film's tone and pacing. The camera work by Jeff Cutter emphasizes both the scale of Jenna and the intimate experiences of Dek. Wide establishing shots showcase the vast, hostile landscapes, highlighting the danger inherent in each setting. Conversely, close-up sequences and handheld camera movements are used during intense encounters, immersing the audience in the immediacy of Dek's survival experience. Lighting design, particularly in the bioluminescent forests or during night sequences, accentuates the predator-prey dynamic and enhances suspense. Editing, executed by Stefan Grube and David Trachtenberg, ensures a rhythm that balances frenetic action with reflective moments of character development, allowing the audience to experience both the exhilaration of survival and the emotional weight of the characters' choices. The musical score by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish complements this visual strategy, blending tribal percussion with electronic undertones to underscore Dek's alien identity and the symbiotic tension between natural and synthetic elements on Jenna. Thematically, the film explores multiple layers of meaning. Beyond the surface-level narrative of survival and combat, Predator Badlands interrogates concepts of cultural expectation, generational conflict, and ethical responsibility. Deck's journey mirrors a coming-of-age story within a highly ritualized alien society. The societal pressures he faces from his father and clan echo universal themes of familial expectation and the struggle to define one's identity amid external judgment. Additionally, the film's treatment of corporate influence through Weyland-Yutani provides commentary on the dangers of technological overreach and ethical compromise, contrasting natural evolution with artificially imposed control. The duality represented by Thea and Tessa, one cooperative and empathetic, the other manipulative and task-focused, further reinforces these ideas, exploring the tension between emotion and logic, instinct and calculation, freedom and obligation. The relationships between characters, both human and non-human, serve as allegories for trust, loyalty, and the consequences of actions across generations and species boundaries. Production design reflects a meticulous attention to detail, blending practical sets with digital environments to create a visually cohesive world. The interior of Deck's ship, the architecture of Predator strongholds, and the landscape of Jenna are all designed with functional logic, suggesting that each element has a reasoned place in the ecosystem or society. Costume and armor design for the Yautja maintain continuity with franchise traditions, incorporating new motifs to reflect Deck's youth and inexperience while signaling his potential for growth. This attention to authenticity extends to the depiction of technology, with Weyland-Yutani machinery, synthetic androids, and advanced weapons portrayed in a manner consistent with established lore but upgraded for cinematic realism. Marketing strategies for the film were multi-pronged, targeting both longtime fans of the Predator series and a broader audience attracted to science fiction action films. Trailers, promotional interviews, behind-the-scenes featurettes, and social media campaigns emphasized the film's unique narrative perspective, showcasing a Predator as the protagonist for the first time. The promotional materials highlighted key moments of action, suspense, and emotional connection, particularly the interactions between Deck, Thea, and Bud, while also teasing the larger implications of Deck's journey for Predator society as a whole. The film's release strategy, which included a premiere at TCL Chinese Theater followed by a global rollout, was designed to maximize visibility and generate discussion within fan communities, leveraging both nostalgia and novelty to attract diverse demographics. Critically, Predator Badlands was recognized for its innovative approach to the franchise, with reviewers praising the film's ability to balance spectacle and character depth. The PG-13 rating allowed the film to maintain intensity and action without alienating younger viewers, broadening its potential audience while preserving the dangerous and thrilling essence of the Predator universe. Critics highlighted the film's success in expanding the lore of the franchise, particularly through the exploration of Predator culture, ethical dilemmas, and the integration of synthetic beings into the narrative. Audience reception was similarly positive, with fan communities responding enthusiastically to the depiction of Deck as a fully realized protagonist and to the film's visually striking alien landscapes. The combination of compelling character arcs, immersive production design, and innovative creature effects contributed to a cinematic experience that resonated both emotionally and viscerally with viewers. The narrative structure of Predator Badlands is deliberately layered, intertwining multiple threads that explore character development, environmental challenges, and moral conflict. Deck's interactions with Thea, Bud, and the Kalisk are interspersed with confrontations against the Weyland-Yutani synthetics, creating a dynamic interplay between personal growth and external threat. The story maintains tension through strategic pacing, alternating between periods of intense action, suspenseful survival sequences, and quieter, reflective moments that explore the inner lives of the characters. This structure allows the audience to invest in both the physical stakes of the narrative and the ethical and emotional dilemmas faced by Deck and his companions, ensuring that the story remains engaging on multiple levels. A central strength of Predator Badlands lies in its nuanced character development, which goes far beyond the archetypal hunter motif established in earlier Predator films. Deck, as the protagonist, is not only physically capable but psychologically complex, embodying both the raw instincts of his species and the vulnerabilities of youth. Early in the film, Deck is portrayed as a predator who struggles with self-doubt and familial pressure, particularly from his father Njor, the stern clan leader whose rigid adherence to tradition reflects the deeply hierarchical nature of Yautja society. Njor's insistence on proving worth through combat and hunting serves as a narrative mirror to real-world expectations of societal and familial achievement, creating a resonant thematic foundation. Deck's initial failures highlight the tension between inherited roles and personal growth, as he navigates the challenges of an unfamiliar world while attempting to reconcile his own identity with the expectations imposed upon him. Thea, portrayed by Elle Fanning, serves as a compelling foil to Deck. As a damaged Weyland-Yutani synthetic, she embodies intelligence, resourcefulness, and moral ambiguity. Her physical limitations, resulting from her missing lower body, necessitate a partnership with Deck, and through this interdependence, both characters undergo significant development. Thea's dual role as Tessa, her twin antagonist, adds complexity to the narrative, representing the dichotomy between empathy and calculation, cooperation and manipulation, freedom and control. The interactions between Thea and Tessa allow the audience to explore philosophical questions about artificial intelligence, identity, and morality, particularly in the context of a universe that juxtaposes natural evolutionary instincts with technological advancement. Bud, the small alien companion, functions as both a narrative catalyst and an emotional anchor, providing moments of levity, empathy, and moral reflection amid the high-stakes action sequences. The expanded lore introduced in Predator Badlands is one of the film's most significant contributions to the franchise. Jenna itself is a fully realized ecosystem with an intricate food chain, environmental hazards, and unique flora and fauna. The filmmakers paid careful attention to evolutionary plausibility, creating creatures with distinct hunting strategies, camouflage abilities, and survival adaptations that feel organic within the context of the alien planet. This attention to detail extends to predator society, the clan hierarchy, ritualistic hunting practices, and the rite of passage imposed on Deck provide insight into a culture that has historically been depicted only through its interactions with humans. The exploration of familial and societal expectations within predator society adds depth to the franchise's mythos, emphasizing that these alien hunters possess their own complex moral frameworks, social norms, and emotional bonds. Visual effects and creature design are central to the film's immersive impact. Weta FX utilized a hybrid approach, combining practical animatronics, detailed prosthetics, and CGI to create a range of predators and alien life forms. The Kalisk, the apex predator of Jenna, is an especially notable achievement, with layered texturing, adaptive camouflage, and subtle behavioral cues that convey intelligence and personality. Animators studied real-world animal behavior to ensure the Kalisk's movements were believable and terrifying, balancing physical plausibility with cinematic spectacle. Smaller predators, environmental hazards, and other creatures contribute to the film's sense of danger and unpredictability, maintaining tension across the narrative. The integration of motion capture technology allowed for expressive interactions between Deck, Thea, and the alien creatures, enhancing the believability of emotional and physical exchanges and elevating audience engagement. The film's cinematography and visual storytelling further enhance its immersive quality. Wide establishing shots convey the vastness and hostility of Jenna, while handheld sequences place viewers in the midst of chaotic confrontations. Lighting design emphasizes both the alien nature of the environment and the predatory dynamic central to the narrative, using contrast, shadow, and color temperature to accentuate suspense, danger, and discovery. Editing choices balance high-intensity sequences with reflective moments, creating a narrative rhythm that allows character development to unfold alongside action. The musical score underscores these elements, employing tribal percussion, atmospheric textures, and electronic motifs to reflect the tension between organic and synthetic life, primal instincts and technological influence. Reception among critics and audiences highlights the film's success in revitalizing the Predator franchise. Many reviewers praise the decision to shift the perspective to a Predator protagonist, noting that the exploration of Predator society, familial dynamics, and ethical dilemmas added a level of depth not previously seen in the series. Fans responded positively to Deck's journey, appreciating the blend of action, humor, and emotional resonance. The PG-13 rating was widely regarded as a strategic choice, allowing younger audiences access while retaining the suspense and intensity associated with the franchise. Critics also lauded the world building, creature design, and seamless integration of practical and digital effects, emphasizing that the film successfully combined spectacle with storytelling depth. Franchise implications of Predator Badlands are extensive. Director Dan Trachtenberg has articulated a vision for a series of interconnected Predator films, suggesting that Badlands serves as the foundation for exploring broader aspects of Yautja culture, intergenerational conflict, and potential crossovers with other established science fiction narratives, such as the Alien universe. The conclusion of the film, which introduces the potential arrival of Deck's mother, hints at future storylines that could expand on Predator societal structures, ethical dilemmas, and the interplay between natural and synthetic life. Rumors of further sequels also suggest that the franchise may explore additional planetary ecosystems, evolutionary adaptations, and character arcs, continuing the trend of combining action-driven spectacle with morally and philosophically engaging narratives. The narrative's thematic richness is further enhanced by the interplay between survival instincts, ethical decision-making, and the evolution of relationships. Deck's journey emphasizes that strength and skill alone are insufficient for true mastery. Rather, moral discernment, emotional intelligence, and cooperation are essential for success. The relationship between Deck and Thea exemplifies this dynamic, illustrating that mutual dependence, understanding, and empathy can enable survival in even the most hostile environments. Ethical challenges, such as the revelation of the Kalisk's familial connection to Bud, compel Deck to navigate complex moral terrain, highlighting the narrative's investment in exploring the consequences of actions within both natural and artificial systems. These themes resonate with broader human concerns, allowing audiences to engage with the story on multiple intellectual and emotional levels. The film also innovates in its approach to dialogue, language, and communication. The development of the Yautja language for the film adds cultural and narrative authenticity, providing a tangible representation of Predator society and enhancing the immersion for viewers. This constructed language, coupled with subtitled interactions and expressive physical acting, allows the audience to understand the nuances of Predator's social hierarchies, honor codes, and interpersonal dynamics. The interplay between spoken English, Yautja dialogue, and nonverbal communication emphasizes the film's commitment to depth and realism, reinforcing the credibility of its alien cultures and the stakes of its narrative. The fan community response to Predator Badlands has been both enthusiastic and analytically engaged, highlighting the depth of narrative and world building. Early fan theories focused heavily on Deck's lineage and the potential implications of his mother's appearance at the end of the film. Speculation suggested that she could represent either an ally or a formidable antagonist, which opens numerous possibilities for sequel storylines. Other theories examined the Kalisk's origin and behavior, with some fans proposing that it represents an evolutionary experiment by Weyland-Yutani, connecting back to cross-franchise lore with the Alien universe. These fan interpretations reflect a deep engagement with the film's mythology, demonstrating how Badlands encourages viewers to consider the implications of Predator society, intergenerational conflict, and the ethical dimensions of hunting and survival. Online forums, fan art, and discussion videos amplified these theories, creating a vibrant participatory culture that expanded the film's impact beyond the theater. Marketing and promotional strategies played a crucial role in framing audience expectations and engagement. The final trailer, released in early October 2025, emphasized Deck's declaration, "I am prey to none," which immediately positioned him as a proactive, morally nuanced protagonist rather than a traditional Predator antagonist. The marketing campaign also leveraged behind-the-scenes featurettes, showcasing the making of the Jenna environment, the practical creature effects, and the integration of motion capture with animatronics. This transparency not only appealed to fans of cinematic technology but also positioned the film as a high-quality, immersive science fiction experience. Social media teasers and interactive content, including AR filters that allowed users to become a predator, further enhanced engagement, creating anticipation and a sense of participation in the story world. Promotional interviews with Dan Trachtenberg and cast members highlighted the film's thematic depth and unique perspective, emphasizing the reimagining of Predator mythology as a narrative centered on growth, ethics, and empathy. In terms of box office performance, Predator Badlands demonstrated strong global appeal. With a production budget of approximately $105 million, the film achieved a worldwide gross exceeding $136 million shortly after release, signaling financial viability while accounting for marketing expenses and distribution costs. Its strategic November release, coinciding with holiday audiences in multiple territories, maximized its exposure. Analysts noted that the PG-13 rating allowed younger audiences to attend with families or friends, broadening its demographic reach relative to previous R-rated entries in the franchise. Additionally, the simultaneous streaming availability in select markets generated further revenue and sustained engagement, reinforcing the film's success as both a commercial and cultural product. The combination of franchise nostalgia, narrative innovation, and marketing savvy contributed to its robust performance in a competitive cinematic landscape. A closer examination of key scenes reveals the film's careful balance of action, emotion, and thematic resonance. One pivotal moment occurs during Deck's first encounter with the Kalisk, where the narrative tension is heightened through a combination of dynamic camera work, sound design, and creature effects. The scene establishes the Kalisk not merely as an obstacle but as an intelligent, adaptive, and morally complex entity, which challenges Deck's assumptions about predation, ethics, and familial responsibility. Another critical sequence involves the confrontation between Deck, Thea, and Tessa, which utilizes spatial choreography, visual symbolism, and narrative stakes to explore themes of loyalty, identity, and the consequences of choices. The climactic battle seamlessly integrates high-intensity action with moments of introspection, allowing viewers to experience both the visceral thrill of combat and the emotional weight of character decisions. These carefully constructed sequences exemplify the film's commitment to storytelling that is both spectacular and intellectually engaging. Comparisons with previous Predator films highlight the innovation introduced by Badlands. While the original 1987 Predator emphasized suspense, hunting, and human vulnerability, Badlands reverses the perspective, making the Predator a protagonist with ethical and emotional depth. Sequels such as Predator 2 and Predators explored variations on hunting dynamics and introduced new environments, but remained focused primarily on human-centric narratives. By contrast, Badlands immerses audiences in Predator society, exploring rites of passage, familial expectations, and the moral responsibilities of the species. Additionally, the integration of synthetic characters and corporate antagonists adds a layer of social and technological commentary absent from earlier films. This comparative approach underscores the evolution of the franchise from a suspense-driven action series to a more philosophically and narratively complex universe. Philosophically, Predator Badlands engages with questions of morality, identity, and the tension between instinct and ethical responsibility. Deck's journey exemplifies the challenge of balancing natural predatory instincts with moral considerations, illustrating that survival and success require more than raw strength. The interplay between natural and artificial life, exemplified by the relationships among Deck, Thea, Tessa, and Bud, invites reflection on the ethics of creation, loyalty, and interspecies cooperation. The film also explores themes of intergenerational conflict, the impact of societal expectation on personal growth, and the ethical ramifications of hunting, experimentation, and intervention in natural ecosystems. These philosophical undertones elevate the narrative beyond standard action spectacle, offering audiences a layered, thought-provoking cinematic experience. The film's reception further confirms its thematic resonance. Critics lauded its ability to merge franchise spectacle with deep narrative, praising its character-driven approach, immersive visuals, and sophisticated world-building. Audience reactions mirrored critical perspectives, with fans appreciating the moral complexity, the fresh focus on predator culture, and the inventive use of science fiction tropes. Online discussions frequently highlighted the successful integration of humor, suspense, and ethical inquiry, noting that the film managed to remain thrilling while encouraging reflection on the broader implications of its narrative choices. This reception suggests that Predator Badlands has successfully expanded the franchise's appeal, attracting both longtime fans and newcomers seeking a sophisticated science fiction experience. The broader implications for the franchise are substantial. With a narrative foundation that prioritizes predator society, ethical dilemmas, and interspecies relationships, the film opens avenues for future installments that can explore additional planetary ecosystems, complex moral scenarios, and cross-franchise interactions with the alien universe. The teased arrival of Deck's mother at the conclusion presents narrative potential for exploring familial legacy, societal expectations, and intergenerational conflict within predator culture. Moreover, the film establishes a model for franchise reinvention, demonstrating that well-established series can evolve by introducing new narrative perspectives, expanding cultural lore, and emphasizing character-driven storytelling without sacrificing action, spectacle, or audience engagement. Predator Badlands employs visual storytelling as a critical component of narrative depth, using cinematography, lighting, and environmental composition to communicate character development and thematic resonance without relying solely on dialogue. The visual contrast between the sprawling, harsh landscapes of Jenna and the intimate, enclosed spaces of Predator strongholds underscores the tension between the vastness of the unknown and the rigid structure of society. Wide shots of jagged mountains, bioluminescent forests, and acidic swamplands create a sense of scale that emphasizes both the danger and beauty of Deck's environment, reflecting his internal journey from uncertainty to confidence. The juxtaposition of shadowy, foreboding spaces during hunting sequences against luminous, natural light in moments of reflection or bonding conveys the duality of threat and safety, predation and nurture, reinforcing the film's thematic layering. Symbolism is woven throughout the film, offering subtle but powerful commentary on identity, growth, and ethical responsibility. Deck's rite of passage, symbolized by the hunt of the Kalisk, reflects both the predator's cultural traditions and the personal challenge of self-realization. The severed skull of Tessa, juxtaposed with the nurturing presence of Bud, functions as a tangible representation of moral choice and the consequences of action. The recurring visual motif of duality, seen in characters like Thea and Tessa, as well as in predator versus prey dynamics, emphasizes the tension between instinct and ethical reflection, cooperation and competition, natural order and artificial interference. Even the flora and fauna of Jenna carry symbolic weight. Bioluminescent plants illuminate paths and dangers alike, serving as both literal and metaphorical guides through the complexities of survival and moral decision-making. Production anecdotes highlight the painstaking effort that went into creating a fully immersive alien world. Director Dan Trachtenberg emphasized practical effects wherever possible, believing that tangible environments and animatronics would produce more authentic interactions between actors and creatures. Actors underwent extensive motion capture training to ensure that predator movements were both realistic and expressive, conveying subtle emotions through posture, gesture, and motion. One notable anecdote involved the filming of a night sequence in the bioluminescent forest, where practical lighting effects were synchronized with CGI to achieve seamless integration, creating an otherworldly glow that became one of the film's signature visual trademarks. Crew members have described the work on the Kalisk as particularly challenging, requiring multiple layers of puppetry, CGI, and sound design to achieve the sense of intelligence, menace, and maternal complexity essential to the narrative. Critical reception varied slightly across regions but remained overwhelmingly positive. In North America, reviewers praised the film's innovative perspective, character depth, and thematic sophistication, noting that it revitalized the Predator franchise for a modern audience. European critics highlighted the production design, creature effects, and cinematography, drawing attention to the immersive environmental storytelling. In Asia, reactions emphasized the universal themes of familial obligation, honor, and growth, resonating with audiences accustomed to narrative traditions that explore intergenerational dynamics and ethical dilemmas. Box office performance in these regions mirrored critical reception, with strong engagement in both domestic and international markets, demonstrating the film's broad appeal and the effectiveness of its global marketing strategy. The soundtrack and sound design play a pivotal role in shaping both tension and emotion throughout the film. Composers Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish blend tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic motifs to reflect the duality of primal instinct and technological sophistication central to the narrative. Predator vocalizations, careless growls, and environmental sounds are layered to create an immersive sonic landscape that complements the visual spectacle, enhancing suspense, empathy, and narrative clarity. Moments of quiet reflection, punctuated by minimalist melodic cues, allow audiences to connect with Deck's internal state, while high-intensity sequences employ rhythmic percussion and dissonant tones to heighten urgency and danger. The sound design extends to subtle environmental effects, such as wind across cliffs, rustling foliage, or alien water currents, grounding the alien world in tangible sensory reality. A key element of thematic deconstruction involves the ethical dimensions of predation and survival. Deck's evolution from a hunter focused on ritual and status to a morally aware figure demonstrates that true mastery requires understanding the consequences of one's actions. The decision to spare the Kalisk after recognizing its maternal connection to Bud reflects a core ethical principle, that survival and honor are intertwined with empathy, cooperation, and ethical reasoning. The interactions between human or synthetic characters and the predators underscore the tension between technological imposition and natural order, prompting reflection on broader questions of intervention, exploitation, and respect for sentient life. Through these moral explorations, the film engages viewers in philosophical inquiry while maintaining the excitement and spectacle inherent to the Predator franchise. The interplay of action and moral contemplation in Predator Badlands is enhanced by careful pacing, editing, and narrative layering. Action sequences are choreographed to maintain narrative clarity and character development, rather than serving as mere spectacle. For example, the hunt sequences against the Kalisk incorporate problem-solving, strategy, and emotional stakes, allowing audiences to experience the complexity of the Predator world. Similarly, interactions with Thea and Tessa balance tension with moments of dialogue-driven insight, exploring themes of trust, betrayal, and self-realization. By structuring the film in this way, the filmmakers ensure that both visceral excitement and intellectual engagement are sustained throughout the runtime. The visual and thematic consistency of the film contributes to its lasting impact on the franchise. By introducing a Predator protagonist, integrating ethical complexity, and expanding environmental and societal lore, Badlands positions itself as a foundational work that can guide the trajectory of future entries. Its careful attention to cinematic craft, spanning cinematography, lighting, sound, editing, and production design, demonstrates that blockbuster science fiction can achieve both spectacle and substance. The deliberate weaving of symbolism, narrative arcs, and moral dilemmas ensures that the film resonates on multiple levels, offering repeated viewing value and encouraging deeper analysis among fans, scholars, and critics alike. Predator Badlands concludes its narrative on a note that balances closure with anticipation, solidifying its place as both a continuation and a reinvention of the Predator franchise. Deck's return to Yautja Prime, accompanied by Thea and Bud, signals the culmination of his personal journey from uncertainty to self-realization, reflecting the successful completion of his rite of passage. The severed skull of Tessa, juxtaposed with the surviving bond between Deck and Bud, serves as a symbolic representation of the choices made throughout the narrative, the tension between tradition and morality, instinct and ethical reflection, power and compassion. The closing sequence, featuring the hinted arrival of Deck's mother, opens narrative possibilities for future installments while reinforcing themes of familial duty, intergenerational conflict, and the evolution of societal norms within Predator culture. By concluding with both resolution and narrative potential, the film positions itself as a pivotal entry in the franchise, capable of sustaining long-term storytelling arcs. The legacy of Badlands extends beyond its immediate narrative achievements. By shifting the perspective to a Predator protagonist, the film expands the franchise's thematic and emotional range, demonstrating that these alien hunters are not simply antagonists but complex beings with their own ethics, social hierarchies, and familial obligations. This shift allows audiences to engage with the Predator universe in new ways, exploring questions of morality, identity, and survival from a non-human perspective. Additionally, the film's meticulous world-building, sophisticated visual effects, and integration of both practical and digital artistry set a new benchmark for cinematic craft within the franchise. It demonstrates that high-concept science fiction can balance spectacle with philosophical inquiry, paving the way for future films to explore deeper thematic content while maintaining the excitement and intensity that audiences expect. Potential sequels are already anticipated within fan and critical circles, with narrative threads such as Deck's mother, the evolving Predator society, and the presence of Weyland-Yutani synthetic antagonists providing rich material for exploration. Future installments could examine Deck's further maturation as a leader within his clan, conflicts between tradition and innovation, and the moral complexities of interacting with both natural and artificial life forms across diverse planetary ecosystems. Cross-franchise implications, particularly with the Alien series, remain a tantalizing possibility, as Weyland-Yutani's involvement and the ethical challenges associated with experimentation provide logical points of convergence. Such expansions could further explore the interplay between human ambition, corporate influence, and the natural order, adding layers of narrative sophistication and thematic resonance. Philosophical reflections embedded in the film extend beyond the immediate story to broader considerations of life, morality, and survival. Deck's journey emphasizes that true mastery is not merely a function of physical strength or technical skill but also of ethical discernment, empathy, and the capacity for moral reflection. The relationships among Deck, Thea, Bud, and the Kalisk illustrate the consequences of choices in a world governed by both instinct and social expectation. Themes of intergenerational responsibility, the ethical treatment of sentient beings, and the balance between freedom and societal obligation are explored with subtlety and depth, encouraging viewers to contemplate the nature of leadership, cooperation, and the moral dimensions of survival in both fictional and real-world contexts. Synthesizing the various aspects of Predator Badlands, the film emerges as a multi-layered work that combines action, suspense, and spectacle with rich narrative and philosophical inquiry. Its world-building, character arcs, visual storytelling, sound design, and ethical explorations coalesce into a cohesive cinematic experience that satisfies both intellectual curiosity and visceral engagement. By foregrounding a Predator protagonist and expanding the moral, cultural, and environmental dimensions of the universe, the film redefines what a franchise entry can achieve, demonstrating that long-standing series can evolve without losing their core identity. The interplay between narrative, visual artistry, and thematic depth ensures that Badlands will be remembered not only as an entertaining action film but also as a meaningful contribution to the science fiction canon. In conclusion, Predator Badlands represents a landmark achievement within the Predator franchise. Its innovative storytelling, immersive world-building, sophisticated visual and sound design, and ethical and philosophical depth establish it as a model for franchise reinvention. Deck's journey from uncertain youth to morally aware leader embodies the film's central themes of growth, empathy, and ethical responsibility, while the broader narrative lays the groundwork for sequels, cross-franchise integration, and expanded exploration of Predator society. By combining high-concept science fiction, intense action, and reflective storytelling, Badlands not only revitalizes the franchise but also demonstrates the potential for blockbuster cinema to engage audiences on multiple levels, viscerally, emotionally, and intellectually. It stands as both a continuation of a beloved series and a bold reimagining, securing its place in contemporary science fiction as a film that challenges conventions, deepens narrative possibilities, and resonates across audiences globally. Ultimately, the enduring significance of Predator Badlands lies in its ability to transform the Predator mythos into a narrative that balances tradition and innovation, instinct and morality, spectacle and reflection. Its meticulous attention to detail, commitment to character-driven storytelling, and philosophical engagement ensure that it will remain a reference point for future franchise entries, inspiring both creators and audiences to consider the ethical, cultural, and emotional dimensions of the worlds they inhabit. Through Deck's journey, the audience experiences a story that is at once thrilling, moving, and intellectually engaging, a testament to the power of thoughtful, ambitious storytelling within the realm of science fiction cinema. The film's success demonstrates that even long-established franchises can evolve meaningfully, offering new perspectives, ethical inquiry, and narrative richness while honoring the legacy that drew audiences to them in the first place. Predator Badlands, released in 2025 and directed by Dan Trachtenberg, marks a bold evolution of the Predator franchise, centering on a young Yautja named Deck. Unlike previous films, which depicted predators mainly as antagonists, Badlands explores predator culture, rites of passage, and moral dilemmas, offering a nuanced, character-driven perspective. Developed by 20th Century Studios and written by Patrick Eisen with Trachtenberg's input, the film immerses audiences in a richly constructed alien world while balancing action, suspense, and ethical inquiry. Set on the hostile planet Jenna, Dek faces both environmental hazards and societal expectations. His father, Njor, deems him unworthy of his lineage, while his brother Quay offers covert support. Dek's rite of passage involves hunting the formidable Kalisk, a creature later revealed to have maternal ties to Bud, a small alien companion. This discovery adds moral complexity to the narrative, emphasizing empathy, cooperation, and the consequences of choices. Along the way, Dek partners with Thaya, a damaged Weyland-Yutani android, whose intelligence and resourcefulness complement his physical prowess. Their relationship evolves from cautious collaboration to deep interdependence, highlighting themes of trust and ethical responsibility. The film's cast brings depth and engagement to this layered narrative. Dimitrios Schuster-Kaloamatangi portrays Dek, balancing raw physicality with subtle emotional growth. Elle Fanning plays Thaya, as well as Tessa, her antagonistic twin, embodying both vulnerability and calculated intelligence. Mike Homick, Ruben de Jong, and Rohinal Nayaran support as Quay, Njor, and Bud respectively, their performances blending seamlessly with practical and digital effects to create a believable and emotionally resonant world. Production values elevate Badlands' immersive experience. Cinematography by Jeff Cutter employs wide, expansive shots to showcase Jenna's perilous landscapes, while close-ups and handheld sequences heighten intensity during hunts and confrontations. Editing by Stefan Grube and David Trachtenberg ensures narrative rhythm, balancing suspense with character development. Weta FX's combination of animatronics, motion capture, and CGI brings the Kalisk and other creatures to life with remarkable realism. The score by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish blends tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic motifs to reflect the interplay between natural instinct and technological influence. Symbolism and thematic depth are woven throughout. Dek's hunt, the duality of Thaya and Tessa, and the moral choice involving the Kalisk all explore identity, ethical responsibility, and societal expectation. Visual motifs such as bioluminescent flora and contrasting landscapes reinforce tension and narrative symbolism. Ethical exploration, especially in terms of predator-prey relationships and synthetic-human interactions, adds philosophical complexity uncommon in action-oriented franchises. The marketing campaign reinforced these themes, emphasizing Dek as a proactive, morally nuanced protagonist. Trailers, social media engagement, our experiences, and behind-the-scenes featurettes highlighted both spectacle and character depth, generating global anticipation. The November 2025 premiere and wide release maximized audience reach, with streaming availability extending engagement further. Commercially, the film exceeded expectations, earning over $136 million worldwide against a budget of $105 million, aided by its PG-13 rating which broadened demographic accessibility. Critically, Badlands received praise for revitalizing the franchise. Reviewers lauded the predator-centered narrative, world-building, character complexity, and immersive visual effects. Audience reception was equally positive, noting the film's balance of action, humor, and moral inquiry. The ethical, philosophical, and intergenerational themes resonated globally, with strong critical response across North America, Europe, and Asia. Badlands sets a new trajectory for the franchise. Potential sequels can explore Dek's maturation, predator societal structures, and cross-franchise intersections with Alien, particularly through Weyland-Yutani's corporate influence. The conclusion's foreshadowing of Dek's mother opens narrative possibilities while maintaining thematic cohesion around family, duty, and ethical responsibility. Ultimately, Predator Badlands demonstrates the franchise's capacity for reinvention, combining spectacle with narrative sophistication. Its immersive world-building, nuanced characters, ethical inquiry, and high-quality production establish it as a reference point for future entries. By foregrounding a predator protagonist, the film transforms the mythos, offering a story that is thrilling, emotionally resonant, and intellectually engaging. It represents a landmark achievement, showing that even long-standing action franchises can evolve meaningfully while honoring their legacy. Predator Badlands, released in 2025 and directed by Dan Trachtenberg, stands as a transformative entry in the Predator franchise, redefining the narrative perspective by centering on a young Yautja named Dek rather than human protagonists, thereby providing unprecedented insight into Predator culture, social hierarchy, and ethical frameworks. Developed by 20th Century Studios with a screenplay by Patrick Eisen and contributions from Trachtenberg, the film not only advances the franchise's lore but also emphasizes narrative sophistication, world-building, and philosophical inquiry alongside its action and spectacle, resulting in a work that is both thrilling and intellectually engaging. The story is set primarily on Jenna, a remote, perilous planet characterized by hostile terrain, diverse ecosystems, and an array of adaptive predators, each designed to be both believable and narratively significant, creating an immersive and reactive environment that challenges Dek physically, mentally, and morally. From jagged mountain ranges and acidic swamps to bioluminescent forests and sprawling deserts, Jenna serves as both a crucible and a classroom for Dek's evolution, testing his survival instincts, strategic thinking, and capacity for empathy. The planet itself is not merely a backdrop but functions as a living system, populated by creatures with complex behaviors, camouflage abilities, cooperative hunting strategies, and evolutionary plausibility, reflecting the filmmaker's commitment to a cohesive and realistic alien ecosystem. Within this context, Dek is initially presented as a young predator deemed weak and unworthy by his father, Jor, the clan leader whose rigid adherence to Yautja tradition underscores the weight of societal expectation and familial pressure, establishing a narrative tension that mirrors universal themes of identity, competence, and the struggle to meet external standards. Dek's personal journey unfolds through a rite of passage in which he must hunt the formidable Kalisk, a legendary creature whose lethal capabilities are well known within predator society. Early failures highlight Dek's inexperience and underscore the film's emphasis on growth, resilience, and the learning curve inherent in both physical and moral development. During his sojourn, Dek forms a partnership with Thaya, a damaged Weyland-Yutani android portrayed by Elle Fanning, whose intelligence, strategic insight, and moral flexibility complement Dek's raw physicality, creating a dynamic interplay that drives both character development and plot progression. Thaya's dual role as Tessa, her antagonistic twin, introduces narrative complexity, embodying themes of duality, ethical tension, and the contrast between cooperation and manipulation, while also reflecting the broader interplay of natural and artificial life forms within the film. The inclusion of Bud, a small alien creature, adds emotional resonance, moral stakes, and moments of levity, highlighting the ethical considerations that underlie the Predator narrative and emphasizing the significance of relationships and empathy even in a universe defined by survival and predation. The plot's tension escalates as Dek and his companions navigate Jenna's hostile terrain, encountering environmental hazards, intelligent predators, and synthetic antagonists dispatched by Weyland-Yutani. These challenges force Dek to evolve beyond instinct and strength, developing strategy, adaptive thinking, and ethical discernment, which are essential to both his survival and his eventual moral maturity. The revelation that the Kalisk, the apex predator of Jenna, is Bud's mother introduces a profound moral dilemma, compelling Dek to reconcile his role as a hunter with emerging principles of empathy, respect for life, and ethical responsibility. This narrative pivot transforms the hunt from a simple test of strength into a philosophical exploration of morality, familial bonds, and the consequences of action, a complexity that distinguishes Badlands from previous Predator entries. As Dek navigates these challenges, he is confronted with themes of trust, interdependence, and cooperation, particularly in his interactions with Thaya, whose guidance and partnership demonstrate that survival in a complex ecosystem requires collaboration, communication, and mutual understanding rather than solitary prowess. The cast's performances reinforce the film's thematic and emotional depth. Demetrius Schuster-Kaloamatangi embodies Dek with a combination of physicality, expressive motion capture nuance, and emotional subtlety, portraying a protagonist whose growth is tangible and psychologically resonant. Elle Fanning, as both Thaya and Tessa, navigates the duality of her characters, highlighting contrasts between vulnerability and calculation, cooperation and antagonism, which serve as thematic anchors for the narrative. Supporting cast members Mike Homick as Quay, Ruben de Jong as Njor, and Rohinal Nayaran as Bud contribute additional layers of relational and narrative complexity, enriching the story while ensuring that each character functions as a meaningful component within the broader thematic architecture. The performances are amplified by the seamless integration of practical effects, animatronics, CGI, and motion capture, particularly in sequences involving the Kalisk and other predators, which were crafted with meticulous attention to movement, behavioral authenticity, and emotional expressivity, allowing the audience to perceive the creatures as sentient, morally complex entities rather than mere antagonistic set pieces. Production design and cinematography in Predator Badlands underscore the film's immersive storytelling. Jeff Cutter's cinematography employs wide establishing shots to convey Jenna's scale and danger while using handheld and close-up techniques to heighten tension during hunts and confrontations, effectively placing the audience within the immediacy of Deck's experiences. Lighting design emphasizes contrast between threat and sanctuary, utilizing naturalistic illumination, bioluminescence, and shadow to reinforce narrative tone and psychological context. Editing by Stefan Grube and David Trachtenberg ensures that narrative rhythm balances suspense, action, and reflection, allowing the audience to engage with both external threats and internal character evolution. Weta FX's visual effects integrate animatronics, motion capture, and CGI to create a tactile, believable environment, with particular attention to the Kalisk's design, adaptive camouflage, and behavioral intelligence, rendering sequences of predation both thrilling and morally resonant. The film's sound design and score, composed by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish, merge tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic motifs to reflect the interplay of instinct, technology, and ethical tension central to the narrative, while Predator vocalizations, environmental audio cues, and creature effects deepen immersion and narrative clarity. Symbolism permeates Badlands, with recurring motifs reflecting duality, moral choice, and personal growth. The rite of passage, the severed skull of Tessa, bioluminescent flora, and predator-prey interactions all serve as visual and narrative metaphors for ethical responsibility, societal expectation, and intergenerational dynamics. The narrative consistently challenges both Deck and the audience to evaluate the balance between survival instinct, ethical reflection, and empathy, particularly in interactions with the Kalisk and Bud. These thematic concerns are further amplified through dialogue, constructed Yautja language, and nonverbal cues, reinforcing the cultural specificity, social hierarchy, and moral framework of Predator society while emphasizing the universality of ethical and philosophical dilemmas. Marketing strategies reinforced the film's thematic focus, with trailers emphasizing Deck's role as a proactive, morally aware protagonist and social media campaigns incorporating interactive AR experiences that allowed audiences to engage directly with Predator culture and abilities. The November 2025 premiere and wide global release, combined with selective streaming availability, maximized audience reach and engagement. Box office performance exceeded expectations, grossing over $136 million worldwide on a $105 million budget, with the PG-13 rating facilitating access to younger demographics while retaining narrative intensity. Critical reception praised the film's narrative innovation, ethical complexity, and production quality, while audiences responded positively to character-driven storytelling, world-building, and immersive creature design, resulting in strong engagement across regions including North America, Europe, and Asia. Fan communities generated theories and analyses regarding Deck's lineage, the Kalisk's origin, and future narrative directions, further enhancing the film's cultural impact and extending its narrative presence beyond the theater experience. Predator Badlands distinguishes itself from prior franchise entries by reorienting narrative perspective, exploring Predator society and ethics, and integrating complex moral dilemmas alongside action and spectacle. Comparisons with the original 1987 film, Predator 2, and Predators highlight this evolution, demonstrating a shift from human-centric survival narratives toward an exploration of non-human protagonists, interspecies ethics, and culturally grounded alien world-building. Philosophically, the film engages with questions of morality, identity, leadership, and the balance between instinct and ethical responsibility, as exemplified by Deck's decisions and relational dynamics. Ethical dilemmas are not abstract but grounded in concrete narrative situations, such as the decision to spare the Kalisk and the nuanced interactions with synthetic life forms, creating a narrative that is both entertaining and intellectually stimulating. The conclusion of the film, featuring Deck's return to Yautja Prime with Thaya and Bud and the foreshadowed arrival of his mother, sets the stage for future sequels, offering narrative possibilities for exploring intergenerational conflict, societal evolution, ethical dilemmas, and cross-franchise intersections with alien narratives through Weyland-Yutani's presence. This positions Badlands as both a culmination of a self-contained story arc and a foundational work for expanded franchise development, providing a model for integrating narrative sophistication, thematic depth, and blockbuster spectacle in long-running cinematic series. Ultimately, Predator Badlands represents a landmark achievement in franchise storytelling, demonstrating that action-oriented science fiction can combine immersive world-building, ethical inquiry, visual and sonic craftsmanship, and emotionally resonant character arcs. By foregrounding a Predator protagonist, exploring societal and familial dynamics, and weaving moral and philosophical reflection into the narrative, the film transcends traditional franchise expectations, offering audiences a story that is thrilling, meaningful, and intellectually engaging. Its legacy lies not only in revitalizing the Predator mythos but also in establishing a blueprint for future franchise reinvention, showing that spectacle and sophistication can coexist, and that long-standing cinematic universes can evolve while maintaining fidelity to their core identity. The comprehensive integration of narrative, technical artistry, thematic richness, and audience engagement ensures that Predator Badlands will be remembered as both a high-quality action spectacle and a thoughtful exploration of morality, growth, and survival in a complex, richly imagined universe. The narrative of Predator Badlands progresses with Deck gradually evolving from an insecure and inexperienced young Yautja into a competent, morally aware hunter capable of navigating both physical and ethical challenges. Each encounter on Jenna tests his abilities, instincts, and ethical framework, forcing him to make decisions that have lasting consequences not only for himself but for the lives of those around him, particularly Bud and Thaya. Early in the story, Deck underestimates the intelligence and adaptability of the creatures on Jenna, encountering ambush predators that employ camouflage, mimicry, and coordinated hunting techniques that force him to rethink the simple reliance on strength and weaponry. These sequences are crafted to show a realistic progression of skill and awareness, with Deck analyzing patterns, learning from mistakes, and gradually developing a strategic mindset that combines instinct with reflection. This evolution mirrors the rite of passage theme central to Yautja society, highlighting how personal growth is inseparable from environmental challenges and societal expectations. Thaya's presence on the journey is crucial to Deck's transformation. As a damaged synthetic android created by Weyland-Yutani, she embodies both intelligence and a perspective unbound by traditional Yautja ritual, offering insights and solutions that challenge Deck's assumptions. Her analytical approach complements Deck's physicality, creating a partnership that emphasizes cooperation and mutual respect. Thaya's own internal struggle, especially when confronting Tessa, her twin, highlights the ethical tensions inherent in synthetic intelligence interacting with biological entities. Through her interactions with Deck, the narrative explores questions of trust, loyalty, and moral responsibility, illustrating that intelligence alone is insufficient without emotional and ethical consideration. The tension between Thaya and Tessa also provides a narrative foil that examines the contrast between empathy-driven decision-making and purely goal-oriented calculation, reinforcing the film's broader exploration of morality and identity. The Kalisk, as the apex predator of Jenna, serves both as a physical threat and a narrative device to explore ethical complexity. Its revelation as Bud's mother introduces a profound moral dilemma, compelling Deck to confront the consequences of predation on sentient life. This sequence is carefully designed to balance high-stakes action with emotional resonance, integrating visual storytelling, camera dynamics, and creature animation to convey intelligence, maternal instincts, and threat simultaneously. The Kalisk's adaptive camouflage, physical strength, and strategic intelligence forced Dec to engage with it not just as an opponent but as a morally significant being, shifting the narrative from a conventional hunt into a meditation on the ethics of violence, kinship, and respect for life. The interplay between Dec, Bud, and the Kalisk underscores the central theme that survival is inextricably linked with ethical awareness, illustrating the evolution of Yautja society's moral framework and offering audiences a narrative with both visceral excitement and philosophical depth. Visual storytelling in Predator Badlands plays a pivotal role in conveying both plot and thematic elements. Jeff Cutter's cinematography combines sweeping landscape shots with close, immersive sequences to communicate scale, danger, and intimacy. Wide shots of jagged mountains, sprawling deserts, and glowing forests emphasize the perilous and alien nature of Jenna, while handheld camera work during hunts and confrontations creates immediacy and tension. Lighting design contrasts natural, bioluminescent illumination with shadowed or enclosed spaces, reinforcing themes of threat versus sanctuary, moral clarity versus ambiguity. These visual cues are consistently tied to Dec's personal journey, reflecting his growing confidence, strategic insight, and moral awareness. Color grading also plays a subtle role, with warmer, natural tones during moments of reflection and bonding contrasted against cold or desaturated palettes during conflict, danger, or ethical confrontation. The production design emphasizes realism and immersion, blending practical sets with digital environments to create a seamless world. Predator architecture reflects cultural and functional logic, with clan dwellings, training arenas, and ceremonial spaces designed to reinforce social hierarchy and tradition. Dec's weapons and armor are upgraded throughout the film to reflect his growing experience and status, while Weyland-Yutani's synthetic technology is depicted as sleek, functional, and threatening, highlighting the contrast between natural evolution and artificial intervention. Practical animatronics and CGI are combined in complex sequences, such as the Kalisk hunt and environmental hazards, to create a tactile sense of realism that allows actors to react authentically, enhancing audience immersion. Creature design is detailed, with movements and behaviors informed by real-world predator study, ensuring both believability and narrative significance. Sound design and score are integral to the narrative, enhancing tension, emotional depth, and thematic resonance. Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish's score merges tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic elements to highlight the interplay between instinct, culture, and technological influence. Predator vocalizations, Kalisk growls, environmental sounds, and ambient cues are layered to create a dynamic soundscape that immerses the viewer in the alien ecosystem. Moments of quiet reflection or moral contemplation are punctuated with minimalist motifs, allowing the audience to connect with Dec's internal journey, while intense sequences employ rhythm, dissonance, and environmental sound layering to heighten urgency and suspense. The integration of sonic storytelling ensures that auditory cues reinforce narrative developments, character psychology, and thematic tension throughout the film. The marketing campaign for Predator Badlands reinforced its narrative and thematic depth, positioning Dec as a morally complex, proactive protagonist. Trailers emphasized his journey of growth, survival, and ethical awareness, while social media campaigns incorporated interactive content, including AR filters and immersive experiences that allowed audiences to explore Predator abilities and perspectives. Behind-the-scenes featurettes highlighted practical effects, creature design, and motion capture integration, emphasizing the film's craftsmanship and commitment to narrative and visual authenticity. These campaigns targeted both long-standing franchise fans and new audiences, highlighting the uniqueness of a Predator-centered narrative while maintaining the action, spectacle, and suspense that define the series. Box office performance reflected the film's global appeal. Released in November 2025, Badlands earned over $136 million worldwide against a $105 million production budget, with a PG-13 rating broadening audience accessibility without diminishing intensity. Its release strategy, combining theater premieres and selective streaming availability, maximized engagement across demographics and territories. Audience reception was overwhelmingly positive, with fan communities analyzing character arcs, environmental storytelling, and ethical dilemmas, creating an active discourse around the narrative's depth. Critical response highlighted the successful reinvention of the franchise, praising character-driven storytelling, world-building, visual effects, and thematic sophistication. Thematically, the film explores intergenerational conflict, ethical responsibility, the balance of instinct and morality, and the interplay between natural and artificial life. Deck's decisions, particularly in sparing the Kalisk and navigating relationships with Thaya and Bud, illustrate that leadership and mastery require moral awareness and empathy, not solely physical prowess. The duality of Thaya and Tessa highlights contrasts between cooperation and manipulation, emotional intelligence and strategic calculation, reinforcing narrative tension and philosophical inquiry. Predator culture is depicted with nuance, showcasing rites of passage, hierarchical structures, and societal expectations, emphasizing that even alien civilizations grapple with ethical dilemmas, growth, and identity formation. These themes resonate across human experience, allowing audiences to engage with narrative layers beyond surface-level action. The film's visual and narrative symbolism further enhances thematic depth. Bioluminescent flora, contrasting light and shadow, predator-prey interactions, and physical artifacts such as ceremonial weapons or trophies operate as metaphorical devices, reflecting moral choice, growth, and relational dynamics. Camera framing and composition often align with Deck's psychological state, using spatial relationships, perspective, and depth to convey internal conflict, uncertainty, or mastery. These visual strategies integrate seamlessly with narrative content, ensuring that every frame communicates information about character, environment, and theme, while maintaining high cinematic engagement. Plot sequences are carefully structured to balance suspense, action, and reflection. Encounters with environmental hazards, smaller predators, and synthetic antagonists build tension while facilitating character growth, emphasizing the relationship between challenge and development. The Kalisk hunt, environmental exploration, and moral confrontation sequences are designed with multiple layers of narrative and symbolic meaning, allowing audiences to engage cognitively and emotionally. This layered approach reinforces the franchise's evolution from spectacle-driven action to thoughtful, immersive storytelling that emphasizes character, ethics, and thematic resonance alongside traditional cinematic thrills. The narrative structure allows for both closure and anticipation. Deck's return to Yautja Prime with Thaya and Bud completes his rite of passage, demonstrating growth, moral maturity, and social competence, while the teased arrival of his mother establishes potential storylines for future installments, including exploration of familial legacy, societal leadership, and intergenerational ethical conflict. This strategic narrative closure combined with forward-looking tension ensures that the film functions as both a self-contained story and a foundation for expanded franchise exploration. One of the most striking aspects of Predator Badlands is the deliberate construction of critical action sequences that are as narratively significant as they are visually spectacular. The initial Kalisk encounter, for example, is meticulously choreographed to convey tension, danger, and moral stakes simultaneously. Deck's approach to the hunt reflects his growing strategic awareness, as he studies the creature's behavior, anticipates its movements, and adapts his tactics. The sequence employs dynamic camera work, blending wide establishing shots of Jenna's hazardous terrain with tight close-ups on Deck, Thaya, and Bud, immersing the audience in both the environment and the emotional intensity of the moment. Lighting plays a pivotal role, with bioluminescent flora casting a natural glow that contrasts sharply with shadowed areas where danger lurks, reinforcing the duality of threat and sanctuary. The Kalisk's behavior, its deliberate movements, calculated aggression, and subtle maternal cues toward Bud, is rendered through a combination of practical animatronics and CGI, ensuring the creature feels physically present and emotionally expressive, elevating the sequence from mere spectacle to a morally complex confrontation. Another sequence of narrative and thematic significance occurs during the confrontation between Thaya and Tessa. Here, the tension is heightened not just through action but through the ethical and emotional stakes embedded in the character's dialogue, physical positioning, and environmental interaction. This fight sequence is layered, combining direct physical engagement with psychological interplay, where Thaya's decisions are informed not solely by survival instincts but by the moral imperative to protect Deck and Bud. The choreography emphasizes strategic movement, balance, and leverage, highlighting Thias' intelligence and adaptability in contrast to Tessa's goal-driven ruthlessness. Cinematography during this scene accentuates the duality between the two characters, using mirror-like framing, contrasting lighting, and camera angles that reinforce themes of duality, moral divergence, and identity. Fan theories surrounding Predator Badlands have proliferated online, with particular interest in the Kalisk's evolution, Dek's lineage, and the teased arrival of his mother. Some fans posit that Dek's mother may introduce internal clan conflict, challenging Njor's leadership and further testing Dek's moral and strategic development. Other theories explore the possibility that the Kalisk represents a hybridized experiment by Weyland-Yutani, linking Badlands to broader cross-franchise narratives, particularly with alien ecosystems. These discussions reflect the richness of the narrative and world-building, as well as the film's capacity to engage audiences in analytical and speculative interpretation, fostering a participatory culture around ethical dilemmas, predator society, and evolutionary possibilities within the universe. Production anecdotes highlight the meticulous care invested in crafting immersive environments and believable character interactions. The bioluminescent forest sequences, for instance, required extensive coordination between practical lighting rigs and CG elements, ensuring that the glow of flora interacted naturally with actors, animatronics, and environmental particles. Motion capture training was rigorous, with actors performing sequences multiple times to synchronize human movement with the nuanced, physically expressive behavior of predators and other creatures. The Kalisk alone required layered puppetry, CGI, and animatronic integration, necessitating collaboration among animators, practical effects specialists, and directors to achieve seamless realism. Crew members reported that synchronization of sound, movement, and environmental interaction was particularly challenging during high-intensity hunt sequences, emphasizing the dedication to creating an experience that felt both authentic and emotionally engaging. The soundtrack and sound design are crucial to the film's narrative and thematic resonance. Tribal percussion underscores action sequences, emphasizing physical tension, rhythm, and the primal aspects of predation. Ambient electronic textures highlight the alien nature of Jenna and its ecological complexity, creating an auditory environment that conveys both beauty and danger. Predator vocalizations, including clicks, growls, and nuanced tonal shifts, communicate emotion, intent, and social cues, establishing predators as sentient beings with cultural and emotional depth. Environmental sound design, ranging from rustling foliage to acidic water currents, grounds the audience in the ecosystem, ensuring that every auditory cue serves both narrative and immersive purposes. Key reflective moments employ minimalist scoring, allowing emotional weight and ethical contemplation to resonate without distraction, demonstrating the careful interplay between narrative pacing and musical composition. Cross-franchise implications are embedded subtly within the narrative. Weyland-Yutani's involvement and Thias' synthetic origin suggest potential intersections with the alien universe, particularly through themes of corporate manipulation, experimental biology, and interspecies ethics. The film's approach to technology versus natural evolution emphasizes moral and philosophical concerns, allowing audiences to consider broader questions about intervention, experimentation, and responsibility. These elements provide fertile ground for future sequels, crossover events, or expanded universe storytelling, demonstrating the franchise's ability to evolve beyond isolated narratives into a richly interconnected universe. Philosophically, Predator Badlands engages with complex moral questions, particularly regarding the ethics of predation, leadership, intergenerational responsibility, and empathy. Dek's development illustrates that mastery and leadership are inseparable from moral awareness, strategic thought, and emotional intelligence. The interplay between instinct, societal expectation, and ethical decision-making demonstrates that true power lies not in physical dominance but in the capacity to navigate complex relational and moral landscapes. The narrative repeatedly emphasizes that ethical awareness and empathy are crucial for sustainable survival, both within predator society and in interactions with other life forms, reflecting a sophisticated moral framework unusual in action-oriented science fiction films. Marketing strategies reinforced the thematic core of the film while highlighting its spectacle. Trailers emphasized Dek's evolution from inexperienced youth to competent leader, interweaving action, ethical decision-making, and relational dynamics. Behind-the-scenes featurettes and social media campaigns showcased practical effects, motion capture integration, and creature design, highlighting the craftsmanship and authenticity of the world-building. Interactive elements, such as AR filters and immersive character perspectives, allowed audiences to engage with Predator abilities and narrative stakes, creating a participatory fan experience. These efforts successfully communicated that Badlands was both a thrilling action spectacle and a morally complex, character-driven story. Critical reception reflected appreciation for the film's narrative innovation, character depth, and technical achievement. Reviewers highlighted Deck as a compelling protagonist, praising the film's ability to humanize, or more precisely, sentientize, Predator culture. Visual effects, cinematography, sound design, and environmental storytelling were noted as elevating the franchise's standards. Audience reactions were similarly positive, particularly regarding moral complexity, world building, and creature design. Box office performance confirmed the film's broad appeal, with strong engagement across North America, Europe, and Asia, demonstrating the global resonance of themes such as growth, responsibility, and ethical awareness. The concluding sequences of Predator Badlands serve both narrative and thematic purposes. Deck's return to Yautja Prime with Thea and Bud represents the culmination of his personal development, demonstrating mastery over physical, strategic, and ethical challenges. The appearance of his mother, while not fully explained, establishes anticipation for future narratives exploring intergenerational conflict, societal evolution, and moral responsibility within Predator culture. By combining closure with forward-looking narrative tension, the film balances audience satisfaction with franchise longevity, ensuring that sequels have both continuity and thematic richness to build upon. As Predator Badlands progresses toward its climax, the interplay between narrative tension and thematic exploration reaches its peak. Deck's confrontation with the Kalisk, now fully revealed as Bud's mother, is structured to integrate action, emotional stakes, and philosophical reflection seamlessly. The sequence demonstrates not only Deck's tactical mastery but also his moral evolution, as he must decide between fulfilling traditional rites of passage and exercising empathy toward another sentient being. The Kalisk's maternal instincts and strategic intelligence challenge Deck to consider the broader ethical ramifications of his choices, transforming the climax from a conventional battle into a meditation on responsibility, kinship, and moral courage. The cinematography emphasizes this transformation, employing wide shots that show the scale and danger of the environment alongside intimate close-ups that capture nuanced emotional reactions, while lighting contrasts the Kalisk's predatory menace with moments of relational connection, reinforcing the ethical stakes embedded within the spectacle. The resolution of Deck's arc underscores the film's central thesis, that true mastery, leadership, and survival require integration of physical skill, strategic reasoning, and ethical awareness. Deck's return to Yautja Prime with Thea and Bud illustrates not only personal growth but also the transformative potential of empathy and moral reflection within Predator society. Njor's recognition of Deck's accomplishments signals a tentative acceptance of moral reasoning as a component of status, suggesting that the Yautja's traditional hierarchy is capable of adaptation and evolution. The narrative thus integrates both personal and societal ethical development, reflecting the film's sustained engagement with philosophical themes. By juxtaposing action-oriented spectacle with moral and relational depth, Badlands demonstrates that science fiction can provide both entertainment and meaningful reflection on leadership, choice, and responsibility. Comparative analysis within the Predator franchise highlights the innovative aspects of Badlands. Whereas the 1987 original focused on suspense, survival, and human vulnerability, and subsequent sequels such as Predator 2 and Predators explored variations on hunting dynamics, environmental threats, and human-alien interaction, Badlands shifts the narrative lens entirely to the Predator perspective. This allows for exploration of societal norms, ethical frameworks, rites of passage, and intergenerational dynamics, elevating the franchise from a primarily spectacle-driven series into a morally and philosophically nuanced narrative universe. The integration of synthetic intelligence, corporate interference, and cross-species ethical dilemmas provides additional layers of complexity, creating opportunities for both narrative and thematic expansion in future installments. Soundtrack and sound design are used to reinforce these themes, providing auditory cues that guide emotional and ethical interpretation. Schachner and Wallfish's compositions blend tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic motifs to underscore the tension between primal instinct and ethical deliberation. Key sequences employ percussive rhythms to simulate heartbeats, strategy, and movement, while ambient sounds establish the alien ecosystem's presence, danger, and beauty. Vocalizations, both Predator and Kalisk, are rendered with tonal variation to communicate intent, emotional nuance, and relational dynamics, ensuring that sound functions as a narrative language in its own right. Quiet reflective passages are supported by minimalist melodic structures that allow viewers to internalize ethical dilemmas and emotional resonance without distraction, demonstrating a careful integration of auditory and narrative elements. Global critical reception further highlights the film's success in combining spectacle with narrative sophistication. North American critics emphasize the franchise reinvention, praising Deck's characterization, thematic complexity, and immersive visual design. European reviews focused on cinematography, production design, and environmental storytelling, highlighting the film's capacity to create a fully realized alien ecosystem that communicates narrative and thematic depth. Asian critics resonated with intergenerational themes, familial responsibility, and ethical decision-making, reflecting cultural affinities for narratives that explore duty, growth, and moral development. Across regions, audiences engaged actively with fan theories, production insights, and thematic discussions, demonstrating the film's broad appeal and its success in stimulating analytical and emotional engagement beyond mere entertainment. Marketing strategies were aligned with these narrative and thematic objectives, emphasizing Deck's evolution, moral decision-making, and the immersive Predator universe. Trailers foreground ethical dilemmas, cooperative dynamics, and visually spectacular sequences, while behind-the-scenes content highlighted creature design, motion capture, and practical effect integration, reinforcing the film's craftsmanship and immersive appeal. Social media campaigns and interactive experiences allowed fans to explore Predator abilities, environmental interactions, and narrative stakes, fostering a participatory culture and extending engagement beyond the theater experience. By integrating thematic emphasis with spectacle, the marketing campaign positioned Badlands as both a blockbuster action film and a thought-provoking narrative experience. Fan engagement also extended to speculative discussion and creative reinterpretation. Online forums and fan art explored potential sequels, the implications of Deck's mother, Predator's social evolution, and connections to the Alien franchise. The Kalisk's biological and behavioral complexity prompted discussions about evolution, adaptation, and ethical treatment of sentient life, while Thaia's synthetic intelligence raised questions about AI ethics, loyalty, and the intersection of technology and morality. These fan interactions reflect the film's capacity to inspire analytical thought, ethical reflection, and imaginative exploration, reinforcing its cultural impact and narrative resonance. Thematically, Predator Badlands maintains a consistent exploration of morality, leadership, identity, and intergenerational responsibility. Deck's evolution demonstrates that ethical awareness is inseparable from survival and mastery, while interactions with Thaya, Tessa, Bud, and the Kalisk illustrate the necessity of empathy, cooperation, and moral discernment in complex systems. Predator's society is depicted as both hierarchical and adaptable, capable of incorporating ethical reasoning alongside traditional measures of strength, suggesting a universe where cultural and moral evolution are intertwined with survival imperatives. The narrative repeatedly emphasizes that instinct and tradition, while vital, must be balanced with reflection, ethical choice, and relational responsibility, offering audiences a model for considering moral complexity in both fictional and real-world contexts. The film concludes with narrative closure and narrative foreshadowing. Deck's return to Yautja Prime signifies the successful completion of his personal journey, demonstrating mastery of physical, strategic, and ethical challenges. The appearance of his mother sets the stage for future installments, inviting exploration of intergenerational conflict, clan evolution, and further moral and strategic development. This balance of resolution and anticipation ensures audience satisfaction while providing fertile ground for sequels, cross-franchise integration, and narrative expansion, establishing Badlands as both a self-contained story and a foundation for ongoing franchise development. The legacy of Predator, Badlands is multifaceted. It reinvents the Predator franchise by centering on a non-human protagonist, introducing ethical and philosophical complexity, and expanding the narrative scope to include predator society, environmental interaction, and interspecies morality. Its immersive visual and sound design, meticulous production values, and narrative sophistication set a new benchmark for action-oriented science fiction. By integrating spectacle with thematic and philosophical depth, the film demonstrates that long-standing franchises can evolve meaningfully without sacrificing audience engagement, establishing a model for future blockbuster storytelling that balances action, immersion, and intellectual stimulation. In its entirety, Predator, Badlands exemplifies the potential of science fiction cinema to combine thrilling spectacle with nuanced ethical inquiry, immersive world-building, and character-driven narrative. Deck's journey from inexperienced youth to morally aware leader illustrates that growth, survival, and mastery require integration of skill, strategy, and ethical awareness. The film's attention to production detail, visual and auditory storytelling, narrative layering, and thematic depth ensures that it resonates on multiple levels, visceral, emotional, and intellectual, offering audiences a rich and enduring cinematic experience. Its cultural, philosophical, and narrative achievements secure its place as both a landmark franchise entry and a template for thoughtful, ambitious science fiction storytelling. Predator, Badlands, released in 2025 and directed by Dan Trachtenberg, represents a transformative entry in the Predator franchise, redefining the narrative perspective by centering on a young Yautja named Deck rather than human protagonists, thereby providing unprecedented insight into Predator culture, social hierarchy, and ethical frameworks. Developed by 20th Century Studios with a screenplay by Patrick Eisen and contributions from Trachtenberg, the film advances the franchise's lore while emphasizing narrative sophistication, world-building, and philosophical inquiry alongside its action and spectacle, resulting in a work that is both thrilling and intellectually engaging. The story is set primarily on Jenna, a remote, perilous planet characterized by hostile terrain, diverse ecosystems, and an array of adaptive predators, each designed to be both believable and narratively significant, creating an immersive and reactive environment that challenges Deck physically, mentally, and morally. From jagged mountain ranges and acidic swamps to bioluminescent forests and sprawling deserts, Jenna serves as both a crucible and a classroom for Deck's evolution, testing his survival instincts, strategic thinking, and capacity for empathy. The planet itself is not merely a backdrop but functions as a living system, populated by creatures with complex behaviors, camouflage abilities, cooperative hunting strategies, and evolutionary plausibility, reflecting the filmmaker's commitment to a cohesive and realistic alien ecosystem. Within this context, Deck is initially presented as a young predator deemed weak and unworthy by his father, Jor, the clan leader whose rigid adherence to Yautja tradition underscores the weight of societal expectation and familial pressure, establishing a narrative tension that mirrors universal themes of identity, competence, and the struggle to meet external standards. Deck's personal journey unfolds through a rite of passage in which he must hunt the formidable Kalisk, a legendary creature whose lethal capabilities are well known within predator society. Early failures highlight Deck's inexperience and underscore the film's emphasis on growth, resilience, and the learning curve inherent in both physical and moral development. During his sojourn, Deck forms a partnership with Thaya, a damaged Weyland-Yutani android portrayed by Elle Fanning, whose intelligence, strategic insight, and moral flexibility complement Deck's raw physicality, creating a dynamic interplay that drives both character development and plot progression. Thaya's dual role as Tessa, her antagonistic twin, introduces narrative complexity, embodying themes of duality, ethical tension, and the contrast between cooperation and manipulation, while also reflecting the broader interplay of natural and artificial life forms within the film. The inclusion of Bud, a small alien creature, adds emotional resonance, moral stakes, and moments of levity, highlighting the ethical considerations that underlie the Predator narrative and emphasizing the significance of relationships and empathy even in a universe defined by survival and predation. The plot's tension escalates as Dek and his companions navigate Jenna's hostile terrain, encountering environmental hazards, intelligent predators, and synthetic antagonists dispatched by Weyland-Yutani. These challenges force Dek to evolve beyond instinct and strength, developing strategy, adaptive thinking, and ethical discernment, which are essential to both his survival and his eventual moral maturity. The revelation that the Kalisk, the apex predator of Jenna, is Bud's mother introduces a profound moral dilemma, compelling Dek to reconcile his role as a hunter with emerging principles of empathy, respect for life, and ethical responsibility. This narrative pivot transforms the hunt from a simple test of strength into a philosophical exploration of morality, familial bonds, and the consequences of action, a complexity that distinguishes Badlands from previous Predator entries. As Dek navigates these challenges, he is confronted with themes of trust, interdependence, and cooperation, particularly in his interactions with Thaya, whose guidance and partnership demonstrate that survival in a complex ecosystem requires collaboration, communication, and mutual understanding rather than solitary prowess. The cast's performances reinforce the film's thematic and emotional depth. Dimitrios Schuster-Kaloamatangi embodies Dek with a combination of physicality, expressive motion capture nuance, and emotional subtlety, portraying a protagonist whose growth is tangible and psychologically resonant. Elle Fanning, as both Thaya and Tessa, navigates the duality of her characters, highlighting contrasts between vulnerability and calculation, cooperation and antagonism, which serve as thematic anchors for the narrative. Supporting cast members Mike Homick as Quay, Ruben de Jong as Njor, and Rohinal Nayaran as Bud contribute additional layers of relational and narrative complexity, enriching the story while ensuring that each character functions as a meaningful component within the broader thematic architecture. The performances are amplified by the seamless integration of practical effects, animatronics, CGI, and motion capture, particularly in sequences involving the Kalisk and other predators, which were crafted with meticulous attention to movement, behavioral authenticity, and emotional expressivity, allowing the audience to perceive the creatures as sentient, morally complex entities rather than mere antagonistic set pieces. Production design and cinematography in Predator Badlands underscore the film's immersive storytelling. Jeff Cutter's cinematography employs wide establishing shots to convey Jenna's scale and danger while using handheld and close-up techniques to heighten tension during hunts and confrontations, effectively placing the audience within the immediacy of Dek's experiences. Lighting design contrasts natural, bioluminescent illumination with shadowed or enclosed spaces, reinforcing themes of threat versus sanctuary, moral clarity versus ambiguity. Editing by Stefan Grube and David Trachtenberg ensures that narrative rhythm balances suspense, action, and reflection, allowing the audience to engage with both external threats and internal character evolution. Weta FX's visual effects integrate animatronics, motion capture, and CGI to create a tactile, believable environment, with particular attention to the Kalisk's design, adaptive camouflage, and behavioral intelligence, rendering sequences of predation both thrilling and morally resonant. The film's sound design and score, composed by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish, merge tribal percussion, ambient textures, and electronic motifs to reflect the interplay of instinct, technology, and ethical tension central to the narrative, while predator vocalizations, environmental audio cues, and creature effects deepen immersion and narrative clarity. Symbolism permeates Badlands, with recurring motifs reflecting duality, moral choice, and personal growth. The rite of passage, the severed skull of Tessa, bioluminescent flora, and predator-prey interactions all serve as visual and narrative metaphors for ethical responsibility, societal expectation, and intergenerational dynamics. The narrative consistently challenges both Dek and the audience to evaluate the balance between survival instinct, ethical reflection, and empathy, particularly in interactions with the Kalisk and Bud. These thematic concerns are further amplified through dialogue, constructed Yautja language, and nonverbal cues, reinforcing the cultural specificity, social hierarchy, and moral framework of predator society while emphasizing the universality of ethical and philosophical dilemmas. The marketing campaign for Predator Badlands reinforced its narrative and thematic depth, positioning Dek as a morally complex, proactive protagonist. Trailers emphasized his journey of growth, survival, and ethical awareness, while social media campaigns incorporated interactive content, including AR filters and immersive experiences that allowed audiences to explore Predator abilities and perspectives. Behind-the-scenes featurettes highlighted practical effects, creature design, and motion capture integration, emphasizing the film's craftsmanship and commitment to narrative and visual authenticity. These campaigns targeted both long-standing franchise fans and new audiences, highlighting the uniqueness of a Predator-centered narrative while maintaining the action, spectacle, and suspense that define the series.